Dandavat pranams to all the assembled devotees. Today we are very, very fortunate to have His Grace Shivananda Prabhu on the call. Shivananda Prabhu is early disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He has spent his life doing valuable services for Srila Prabhupada. He is the pioneer in starting Krishna consciousness in Europe. He has traveled to many countries alone, and Srila Prabhupada himself has mentioned about his services single-handedly trying to spread Krishna consciousness. He and his wife Madan Mohan Mohini Mataji is now in Prabhupada village serving their lordships Paramakaruna Sri Gaurnitai and all the devotees there. It's a wonderful community. They are inviting the devotees to come and stay there and serve the deities. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving us this opportunity to be able to hear you. And please accept our humble obeisances and please take over the call.
Please accept my obeisances also. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So I was asked to give class today about Lord Shiva because today is Shivratri. So because I'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll chant the prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam when we give class. That's Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before uttering this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we offer our respectful obeisances unto Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. And I also offer my very humble and very respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has very kindly translated and commented upon the Srimad Bhagavatam for our benefit. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance at the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, everything that is inauspicious within the heart is practically destroyed to nil. And loving devotional service under the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental verses, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. So today is the day of Shivratri. We recognize Lord Shiva and we sing his praises. Most of all, we sing his praises because of the verse Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. And that means, I'm not exactly sure where that is in the Vedic literatures, but it means that Lord Shiva is the greatest of all the devotees. He's always thinking about Krishna. He's always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And he's also very kind and beneficial to the devotees of Krishna. And as we also may remember that during the pastimes of the churning of the ocean of milk, when the demigods and the demons were churning the ocean of milk, before the nectar came, there was the production of a poison. I think it was halakuta or halahala. And this poison was very difficult to deal with. So they all approached Lord Shiva and asked him for his help. And Lord Shiva spoke to Parvati and took his permission from Parvati, and she knew his powers. So then he took all the poison that was produced during the churning of the ocean of milk, and took it in his hand and drank it. And this poison marked his neck with a blue line, and so then from that time on, Lord Shiva was known as Nilakanta, or the person with the blue neck. So in that way, Lord Shiva saved the day for all of the demigods and the demons. But we usually refer to speak about Lord Shiva in relation to Lord Krishna, because we're trying to become devotees of Lord Krishna. And there's a very wonderful chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, chapter 88, where Lord Shiva is saved from Vrikasura. And Srila Prabhupada, in his Krishna book, comments on that, and we'll read from there. And I also have the 10th Canto commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Sararata Darshini, which explains in detail, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in details about this. So I read through that before class time, and there's not much that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that Srila Prabhupada doesn't mention in his chapter in the Krishna book. So this story in the 10th Canto begins with a question by Maharaj Parikshit. Now Maharaj Parikshit's this is the 10th Canto, so it's being narrated by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. And Maharaj Parikshit has a question. Now Maharaj Parikshit is a very intelligent person, and so he's inquiring from Sukadeva Goswami. He says, or he probably mentions here, a neophyte devotee may question, if the ultimate goal of life or the conclusion of the Vedas is to elevate oneself to the platform of devotional service, then why is it observed that a devotee of Lord Vishnu is generally not very prosperous materially, whereas a devotee of Lord Shiva is found to be very opulent? In order to clarify this matter, Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadeva Goswami. He says that, my dear Sukadeva Goswami, it is generally found that those who engage in the worship of Lord Shiva, whether in human, demoniac, or demigod society, become very opulent materially. Although Lord Shiva lives... I just lost my place here. Although Lord Shiva lives just like a poverty-stricken person. On the other hand, the devotees of Lord Vishnu, who is the controller of the goddess of fortune, do not appear to be very prosperous, and sometimes they are even found to be living without any material opulence at all. Lord Shiva lives underneath a tree or in the snow of the Himalayan mountains. He does not even construct a house for himself, but still the worshippers of Lord Shiva are very rich. Krishna, or Lord Vishnu, however, lives very opulently, whether in Vaikuntha or in this material world, but his devotees appear to be poverty-stricken. Why is this so? And so then Srila Prabhupada mentions that Maharaj Parikshit's question is very intelligent. The two classes of devotees of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are always in disagreement, and so they have discussions sometimes about that. Sukadeva Goswami began to reply to King Parikshit's inquiry about the apparent contradictions regarding the worship of Lord Shiva and that of Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is the master of the material energy. The material energy is represented by Goddess Durga, and Lord Shiva happens to be her husband. Since Goddess Durga is completely under the subjugation of Lord Shiva, it is to be understood that Lord Shiva is the master of this material energy. The material energy is manifested in three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, and therefore Lord Shiva is the master of these qualities. Although he is in association with these qualities for the benefit of the conditioned soul, Lord Shiva is the director and is not affected. Although the conditioned soul is affected by the three qualities, Lord Shiva, because he is the master of these qualities, is not affected by them. So then it goes on to mention a little bit later here in the explanation, the devotees of Lord Shiva are only opulent in terms of the material qualities. Factually, such so-called advancement of civilization is the cause of entanglement in material existence. It is not actually advancement, but degradation. The conclusion is that because Lord Shiva is the master of the three qualities, his devotees are given things manufactured by the interaction of these qualities for the satisfaction of the senses. In the Bhagavad Gita, however, we get instruction from Lord Krishna that one has to transcend the qualitative existence. Nishtray gunyo bhavarjuna. The mission of human life is to become transcendental to the three qualities. So in Krishna consciousness, we see that our attempt is to become free from the influence of the material energy. You and I are spirit souls. We're not this body, and this body is entangled in the modes of material nature, and the idea is that you and I all need to become transcendental. We need to go beyond the modes of material nature. We can progress from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion, and then we progress to the mode of goodness. But then we need to also transcend the mode of goodness to the mode of Suddha-sattva, pure goodness. In the material world, even the mode of goodness is contaminated by traces of passion and ignorance. So this is the process of Krishna consciousness. We're becoming transcendental. We're becoming trying to become the lovers of Lord Krishna. And so as we advance in Krishna consciousness, we're redeveloping our relationship with Krishna. So it's understood that all of us have a relationship with Lord Krishna in some manner or other. We may not understand what it is now. Since the time of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he mentioned that he didn't explain the devotee's position in relation to Krishna. He said that this will come out in the course of our practice of devotional service. So whatever our relationship with Lord Krishna, our eternal relationship with Lord Krishna is, this will become manifest as we practice devotional service. So this is the attempt, this is the idea. And so in the telling of the story, Sukadeva Goswami goes back to another, very often these stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam go back from somebody asks a certain question, and then he says, oh, you know something? This question was asked at this time, and this question was asked at that time, and it goes back. So similarly, Maharaj Yudhisthira asked this question of Lord Krishna when after the Rajasuya sacrifice, and then it mentions here in the Krishna book, Sukadeva Goswami, in answering Parikshit Maharaj's question, went on to cite a historical instance regarding Parikshit Maharaj's grandfather, King Yudhisthira. He said that after finishing the Ashwamedha sacrifice in the great sacrificial arena, King Yudhisthira, in the presence of great authorities, inquired on that very same point, how it is that the devotees of Lord Shiva become materially opulent, whereas the devotees of Lord Vishnu do not. Sukadeva Goswami specifically referred to King Yudhisthira as your grandfather, so that Maharaj Parikshit would be encouraged to think that he was related to Krishna and that his grandfathers were intimately connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, although Lord Krishna is always very satisfied by nature, when this question was asked by Maharaj Yudhisthira, he became even more satisfied, because these questions and their answers would bear a great meaning for the entire Krishna-conscious society. Whenever Lord Krishna speaks about something to a specific devotee, it is not meant only for that devotee, but for the entire human society. So we see in the course of speaking the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna was speaking to Arjuna, but it's understood that he was speaking to all of us, to all of human society, and he gave instruction in the Bhagavad Gita for everyone. So this is what happens. Of course, at that time when Lord Krishna was present, it was understood that the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita had been lost, and he needed to reestablish them, and so he did. And so, but the idea is that it's not just speaking to Arjuna, he's speaking to all of us. So that's why we get so much nice instruction in the Bhagavad Gita about how to behave and what to do. Then Lord Krishna answers, so then we're referring back to this, speaking of this question by Lord Krishna to Maharaj Yudhisthira. And then Lord Krishna answered the question of Maharaj Yudhishthira as follows. If I especially favor a devotee and especially wish to care for him, the first thing I do is to take away all his riches. That's a quote from Lord Krishna. When the devotee, and Prabhupada explains further, when the devotee becomes a penniless pauper or is put into a comparatively poverty-stricken position, his relatives and family members no longer take much interest in him, and in most cases they give up their connection with him. The devotee then becomes doubly unhappy. First of all, he becomes unhappy because his riches have been taken away by Krishna, and he is made even more unhappy when his relatives desert him because of his poverty-stricken condition. So we see in the life also of Srila Prabhupada that this also happened. Srila Prabhupada was a very good businessman, and it's mentioned Prabhupada mentions that he was going to become a second Birla. But Krishna took a special interest in Srila Prabhupada, and he took away his material opulence. Prabhupada mentioned that this is what happened to him. In other places, Srila Prabhupada mentions also that people may not be very much interested in practicing the Krishna consciousness movement because they will become less materially opulent. But this is the idea is that when you become less materially opulent, you have less attachment to the material world. And this is what Krishna is trying to do. He's trying to help us all become attached to him. And so in this way, then the devotee can become attached. In some cases, we see some devotees become very opulent. We see in the case of trying to remember his name. Anyway, he was...
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my obeisances. Ambarish Das?
No, not Ambarish. It was the devotee who went to visit Lord Krishna in Dwarka.
Sudama.
Sudama, that's right. Sudama. Thank you for reminding me. So Sudama also became materially rich, but he also did not become degraded in Krishna consciousness. His Krishna consciousness increased, even though Krishna gave him opulence. But usually what happens if you get some opulence, then you become not so Krishna conscious. So this is what Krishna does. In the arrangement with Sudama, it was a special case, and we see also in Krishna conscious movement, we see some very opulent devotees like Ambarish Maharaj. Now he's not a Maharaj, he's not a sannyasi, but he's Ambarish, and he's the grandson of Henry Ford, and he has the whole Ford Motor Company. So, but he's using his wealth to build the temple of the Vedic planetarium, and it's going up in Mayapur. We just saw online the raising of the chakras. And they put the chakras on top of the temple there, and boy, it was really a very beautiful thing. So sometimes that happens also. But the idea is, generally speaking, Krishna takes away the material opulence. So then, Prabhupada goes on to say here in the Krishna book, it may be questioned why a devotee is put into such tribulation by the personality of Godhead. The answer is that this kind of arrangement by the Lord is just like the fathers sometimes becoming unkind to his sons. Because the devotee is a surrendered soul and is taken charge of by the Supreme Lord, whenever the Lord puts him into any condition of life, either in distress or happiness, it is to be understood that behind this arrangement there is a large plan designed by the personality of Godhead. For example, Lord Krishna put the Pandavas into a distressed condition so acute that even grandfather Bhishma could not comprehend how such distress could occur. He lamented that although the whole Pandava family was headed by King Yudhishthira, the most pious king, and protected by the two great warriors, Bhima and Arjuna, and although above all the Pandavas were all intimate friends and relatives of Lord Krishna, they still had to undergo such tribulations. Later on, however, it was proved that this was planned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as part of his great mission to annihilate the miscreants and protect the devotees. So we are cautioned also in the lives of devotees to be very cautious when we see that devotees suffer material tribulations, because we're cautioned not to think that this is karma, but this is Krishna entering into the lives of the devotees to help them become more Krishna conscious. So then the story goes on that Lord Shiva sometimes gets into difficulty with giving material benedictions. And the story is told of Vrikasura. And it begins, as for the benedictions given by demigods like Lord Shiva, there is the following historical incident cited by great sages. Once Lord Shiva was giving benediction to a demon named Vrikasura, the son of Sakuni, and it entrapped himself in a very dangerous position. Vrikasura was searching after a benediction and was trying to decide which of the three presiding deities to worship in order to get it. In the meantime, he happened to meet the great sage Narada and consulted with him as to whom he should approach to achieve quick results from his austerity. He inquired, this is his quote from Vrikasura, of the three deities, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, who is most quickly satisfied? So it mentions that Narada Muni could understand that this particular person was somewhat of a demoniac nature. So he said, you had better worship Lord Shiva. Then you will quickly get the desired result. Lord Shiva is very quickly satisfied and very quickly dissatisfied also. So you try to satisfy Lord Shiva. Narada also cited incidents where demons like Ravana and Banasura were enriched with great opulences simply by satisfying Lord Shiva with prayers. Because the great sage Narada was aware of the nature of the demon Vrikasura, he did not advise him to approach Vishnu or Lord Brahma. Persons such as Vrikasura, who are situated in the material mode of ignorance, cannot stick to the worship of Vishnu. So anyway, after he gave that instruction, Vrikasura went to Kedarnath. The pilgrimage site of Kedarnath still exists near Kashmir. It is almost always covered by snow, but for part of the year, during the month of July, it is possible to see the deity, and devotees go there to offer their respects. So after igniting the fire in the name of Lord Shiva, he began to offer his own flesh by cutting it from his body so as to please Lord Shiva. So this is worship in the mode of ignorance. So this is not good. Although Vrikasura continued his sacrifice for 6 days, he was nevertheless unable to personally see Lord Shiva, which was his objective. He wanted to see him face to face and ask him for a benediction. Here is another contrast between a demon and a devotee. A devotee is confident that whatever he offers the deity in full devotional service is accepted by the Lord. But a demon wants to see his worshipable deity face to face so that he can directly take the benediction. And then it goes on to say, Prabhupada mentions here, a devotee, however, does not worship Vishnu or Lord Krishna for any benediction. Therefore, a devotee is called akama, free of desire, and a non-devotee is called sarvakama, or desirous of everything. On the 7th day, the demon Vrikasura decided that he should cut off his head and offer it to satisfy Lord Shiva. Just a moment. Someone is at the door here. So he Okay. Thus he took bath in the nearby lake, and without drying his body and hair, he prepared to cut off his head. From what I understand, when you offer an animal in sacrifice, you bathe it like that, and you cut off its head right at that stage. So that's what he was going to do. According to the Vedic system, an animal which is to be offered as sacrifice first has to be bathed, and while the animal is wet, he is sacrificed. When the demon was thus preparing to cut off his head, Lord Shiva became very compassionate. This compassion, however, is a symptom of the quality of goodness. The compassion of Lord Shiva was aroused because the demon was offering his flesh to the sacrificial fire. This is natural compassion. If a common man sees someone preparing to commit suicide, it is his duty to try to save him. Therefore, when Lord Shiva appeared from the fire to check the demon from suicide, it was not a very great favor to him. The demon was saved from committing suicide by the touch of Lord Shiva. His bodily injuries immediately healed, and his body became as it was before. So, due to Lord Shiva's benediction, he was blessed like that. Then Lord Shiva told the demon, "My dear Vrikasura, you do not need to cut off your head. You can ask me any benediction you like, and I shall fulfill your desire. I do not know why you wanted to cut off your head to satisfy me. I become satisfied by offering of a little water." Actually, according to the Vedic process, the Shiva Linga in the temple, or in the form of Lord Shiva in the temple, is worshipped simply by offering Ganges water, because it is said that Lord Shiva is greatly satisfied when Ganges water is poured on his head. Lord Shiva assured Vrikasura that he becomes satisfied by a very simple process of worship. So then he offered benediction to Vrikasura, and Vrikasura, and it goes on to say here, Vrikasura, instead of asking Lord Shiva for something beneficial to human society, asked for something very dangerous to human society. He asked that whoever head he would touch, his head would crack and the person would be killed. So, without further deliberation, the demon Vrikasura immediately approached Lord Shiva to place his hand on Lord Shiva's head. Lord Shiva was so afraid of him that his body trembled, and he began to flee from the land to the sky, and from the sky to other planets, until he reached the limits of the universe, above the higher planetary systems. Lord Shiva fled from one place to another, but the demon Vrikasura continued to chase him. The predominating deities of other planets, such as Brahma, Indra, and Chandra, could not find any way to save Lord Shiva from the impending danger. At last, Lord Shiva approached Lord Vishnu, who is situated within this universe in the planet known as Svetadweep. Svetadweep is the local Vaikuntha planet beyond the jurisdiction of the influence of external energy. And then he mentions here that Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, began to offer his respects and obeisances to Lord Shiva. It says, Lord Narayan offered his respects and obeisances unto Vrikasura just to attract his sympathy and attention. He said to Vrikasura, "My dear son of Sakuni, you appear to be very tired, as if coming from a very distant place. What is your purpose? Why have you come so far? I see that you are very tired and fatigued, so I request you to take a little rest. You should not unnecessarily tire your body. Everyone greatly values his body because with this body one can fulfill all the desires of one's mind. We should not, therefore, unnecessarily give trouble to our body." And then Lord Vishnu approached him as a brahmachari. The brahmachari addressed Vrikasura as the son of Sakuni just to convince him that he was known to his father, Sakuni. Vrikasura then took the brahmachari to be someone known to his family, and therefore the brahmachari's sympathetic words appealed to him. Before the demon could argue that he had no time to take rest, the Lord began to inform him about the importance of the body, and the demon was convinced. Any man, especially a demon, takes his body to be very important. Thus Vrikasura became convinced about the importance of the body. And then Lord Vishnu said, "My dear Lord, if you think you can disclose the mission for which you have taken the trouble to come here, maybe I shall be able to help you so that your purpose will be easily served." The demon was greatly pacified by the sweet words of Lord Narayan in the form of a brahmachari, and at last he disclosed all that had happened in regard to the benediction offered by Lord Shiva. The Lord replied to the demon as follows: "I myself cannot believe that Lord Shiva has in truth given you such a benediction. As far as I know, Lord Shiva is not in a sane mental condition. He had a quarrel with his father-in-law Daksha, and he has been cursed to become a pisacha, ghost. Thus he has become the leader of the ghosts and hobgoblins. Therefore I cannot put any faith in his words. But if you have faith still in the words of Lord Shiva, my dear king of the demons, then why don't you make an experiment by putting your hand on your head? If the benediction proves false, then you can immediately kill this liar, Lord Shiva, so that in the future he will not dare to give out false benedictions." In this way, by Lord Narayan's sweet words, and by the expansion of his superior illusion, the demon became bewildered, and he actually forgot the power of Lord Shiva and his benediction. Thus he was very easily persuaded to put his hand on his own head. As soon as the demon did that, his head cracked as if struck by thunder, and he immediately died. The demigods from heaven began to shower flowers on Lord Narayan, praising him with all glories and all thanksgiving, and they offered their obeisances to the Lord. On the death of Vrikasura, all the denizens in the higher planetary systems, namely the demigods, the pittas, the Gandharvas, and the inhabitants of Janaloka, began to shower flowers on the personality of Godhead. Thus, Lord Vishnu, in the form of a brahmachari, released Lord Shiva from the impending danger and saved the whole situation. Lord Narayan then informed Lord Shiva that this demon, Vrikasura, was killed as a result of his own sinful activities. Thus, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, who was transcendental to all material qualities, Lord Shiva was saved from being killed by a demon. Anyone who hears this history with faith and devotion certainly becomes liberated from material entanglement, as well as from the clutches of his enemies. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd volume, 19th chapter of Krishna, Deliverance of Lord Shiva. So in that way, Lord Shiva was saved by Lord Vishnu. So in this way, we remember Lord Shiva, and we remember the situation, the questions by Maharaj Parikshit, the questions by Maharaj Yudhisthira, and we appreciate the position of Lord Shiva and also appreciate the position of Lord Narayan and Lord Krishna. And then in this way, we, Vaishnavas, celebrate Shivaratri. So, if there are any questions, comments, anyone would like to make, you're welcome at this point to come forward. It's a process of hearing and chanting, so I chanted for a while, and you heard, and now you can chant, and I'll hear, and we can go on like that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept mine. All glories to Prabhupada.
So in the beginning it was mentioned that devotees of Lord Shiva are more opulent. Is that true in the current modern situation also?
Well, there's also the Naga Babas, who worship Lord Shiva. I think they worship Lord Shiva. They don't have much material opulence, but they have material powers. But I don't really, I don't have so much experience because I don't live in India. I haven't experienced the situation with devotees of Lord Shiva, so I don't really know. I just know what I read in Krishna book and what I hear from Srila Prabhupada. So I don't know. Maybe you have more experience.
No, Prabhu. Thank you. That's okay. Hare Krishna. I was just curious to know that. No, that's all.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been to India once, twice, so I don't have so much direct experience. But, there may be others of you who have more experience. I don't know.
No problem. That's okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anything from anyone else? I don't know. I don't think I've ever met any devotees of Lord Shiva, so I don't have so much experience. Oh, I did see one when I was in Vrindavan. I was in Loy Bazaar, and I saw a Naga Baba come by with a trident. It was pretty scary. I see pictures of the Kumbh Mela. I see Naga Babas. They come there, and they take bath at Kumbh Mela in the confluence of the Jamuna and the Ganga. But I actually never actually been to Kumbh Mela. Some of you may have been there. I don't know. So anyway, that's what we hear. That's what I hear from Krishna book, from Srila Prabhupada, and then the story is also told in the 10th canto by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And so there's quite a bit of information there.
Right. So that has to be true. Whatever is mentioned in Bhagavatam has to be true. Just that, especially in South India, there are mostly, you can see a lot of Shiva devotees, Lord Shiva's devotees. And I think it is, you don't see any much difference between these days.
Maybe you don't. Kali Yuga progresses on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvatram, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Prabhuji, I have a question that, when Prabhupada was here, how you all used to celebrate Shivratri, or what you were all doing at that time?
Shivaratri. Well, for some time, until we got calendars, we didn't know very much about Shivaratri, so we didn't celebrate very much. And then as the calendars came out and the different appearance days and things appeared on the calendar, then we began to celebrate. So at the beginning, we didn't do very much on Shivaratri. And then when we became more aware of all the different things and celebration days, then we would read about Lord Shiva and hear about him. And of course, we recognize Lord Shiva as a very great Vaishnava. So we offer respects. But I can't remember when Srila Prabhupada was present ever celebrating Shivaratri. As far as I remember.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And I personally, as I say, I personally don't have so much experience of devotees of Lord Shiva. I have a little experience of a devotee. I remember there was when I was in Boston, there was I think it was when I was in Montreal. Oh, anyway, I remember a Bengali gentleman named Gangopadhyaya, and he was having difficulties because he didn't have a job. So then he told me that, they invited me to a Durga Puja, and after I went to the Durga Puja, then I got a job. So that was one. That's the only experience that I have of benefits of Lord Shiva and Durga. Okay, so that's about all I have to say on that matter. I'll sign off here. And
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol.
Haribol, please accept my obeisances also to Srila Prabhu.
Please accept mine. All of you, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha.
Prabhuji, I have...
Go ahead.
You gave the class on Lord Shiva, glorification of Lord Shiva, and your name is Shivananda.
Oh. Well, Srila Prabhupada told me about my name. He told me that I was actually named after Shivananda Sena, who was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he mentioned when he said that, he said he also had a young son who wrote a very nice book about Krishna. And I think that was Kavi Karnapur, who wrote the Gauragana Desha Deepika. And I think that's what the situation was. So that's what Srila Prabhupada told me. I was named after Shivananda Sena.
Okay. Yeah. So nice.
Okay. So that's we can remember. The thing to do is to remember Lord Shiva as a great devotee of Krishna, and he meditates upon Lord Narayan and Lord Krishna. All right. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to give class and to speak about Lord Shiva and speak about Lord Vishnu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Anantapurti Vaishnavavrinda.